All right. As you surround the Bandit King, he begs for his life. He says, "If you let me go, I'll tell you who stole the king's ruby."
No dice, dude. We already know who stole the ruby. It was a Lich Lord.
I thought it was the Troll King's son. You know, Troll King 2.0, Troll King the Second, whatever they call him.
You guys defeated both those enemies. It was the Ogre of Photonia.
The Ogre? I thought he was in prison when the ruby was stolen.
How was the ogre smart enough to manipulate the guards and pick the 14 locks to get the ruby? Possible.
Yeah, and how did the Ogre fit through the tower window?
Yeah, and didn't the Lich have plans to use the ruby for his death machine?
The Troll King Jr. had the plans to the tower and the notes about the Red Rock.
I think I need help with my plots. Can you help me, Grizzled Game Master?
Keeping track of a complicated plot can be difficult. Let's see if we can't make it a little bit easier for you.
Welcome to the Grizzled Game Master.
All right, so how do you keep track of your plot? Well, if you're starting to write your own adventures, come up with a plot is a little bit difficult. A lot of people use a flow chart. When they tell you to write a flow chart, you know, to point A to point B to point C, but no flow chart survives impact from players, right? No plans you have, they're always going to do something different. So the way I do it is a little bit different. I have a series of encounters set up, how I want to tell the story. I have the very first encounter and the very last encounter, and in between those, I have a whole series of encounters that can be interchangeable. That each one of them progresses the story a little bit here. Now, I may have overall information I want to get across, linear information, and I just insert that information into the encounters as they happen with the players. So that's the plan. But you got to be able to throw that out at a moment's notice and kind of adapt. So, like I said, adaptability is key. But you can still kind of develop that flow chart. You know, you have the beginning encounter, end encounter, figure out the encounters you want to have in between. But I'd always have a couple backup encounters just in case they kind of go off the rails. You know, kind of steer them there. And we've talked about how to steer players back onto the plot. But that's how you organize the plot overall. How do you keep track of all that information? Well, you got to keep track of your notes. Because, like you saw, once you forget something, your players are never going to forget. You forget the name of an NPC, or you use the same NPC name for two different NPCs, they're going to catch on. And they're going to confuse them. They're going to keep track of your notes. So you got to keep notes even better than your players do. Now, that's hard sometimes. How do you keep track of all that stuff? You have, you know, a stack of papers to leaf through every encounter. Well, there are a couple ways you can keep track of it. Obviously, you know, develop some spreadsheets, some basic spreadsheets for the plot. In any system, whether you keep track of your laptop or your pad or whatever while you're gaming, or if you have like some note cards to put it on. But there are some online tools to help you with this. One that I use a lot is Evernote. Now, Evernote's free. There's a $5 for an upgraded version of it. But it's a great way to keep track of all your plot, all your NPC information. I have it open during the game, so you come up with new NPCs on the spot, or you use one of the names off your name list that we talked about earlier. You can write that down, who that NPC is, and keep track of their information for later. It's great, and it's free. Now, if you want a better one, and you have a little bit of money to spend, there are a few online tools. One of the best ones out there is RealmWorks. Now, it's a little pricey. It's $49.99 for it, but it does everything Evernote does plus some, right? It also has, you can make maps with it, keep track of maps. The great thing about it is you can keep track of how much information you give out to your players, you know? So it's not only is the map interactive, but what you give your players is, you know, you can determine. It's a really great tool, especially if you use, you know, online, if you roleplay online a lot. Great way to keep track of information. But even if you don't, even at the table, it's a great way to keep track of all your information. Now, the company that makes that also does Hero Labs. Now, Hero Labs, it does one thing only. It's only character sheets. Keep track of your characters and your NPCs, but it does it extremely well. It's a little more affordable. It's $30 for every game system, you know, but it keeps track of everything because you want to have copies of your player sheets, right? And they're going to level up. And as they do, I mean, it's real easy to update it in the system. So you have track of the character sheets, you have track of all your plot, You know, between the two, Realmworks and Hero Labs, that's pretty much the only tools you need. But like I said, if you have the money to pay for it, if not, Evernote's a great way to do it. Or even, like I said, index cards, whatever you need to. But you have to keep track of your notes, have it written out. It doesn't have to be like super detailed as to what, because like I said, flexibility in their plot. But as long as you have that information down somewhere that you can look it up, then that's all you need.
All right, and with the fall of the ogre, you can return to the king with his ruby.
Man, I still can't believe the ogre manipulated the Lich and the Troll King.
T2, Return of the Troll King.
Really?
Oh, sorry. Anyway, it wasn't really an ogre. It was just the halfling illusionist, former court wizard, upset about being replaced by a gnome.
Gnomes are better than illusionists. Smaller. You eat less.
Happy players. Thank you, Grizzled Game Master.
Okay, we figured out how to keep track of your plot notes. How do you come up with the plot to begin with? Well, like I said, I would suggest your first time starting out using pre-published adventures, and then you can see there's several that have, in a line. Or if you're developing your own, you want to have an overarching plot. You figure that out. What's the story you want to tell. And keep track of that note just like you would in an encounter, or an adventure session. Keep track of the overall plot. Now, there are a million things. Just look up, plot hooks on the internet. Just Google plot hooks, and there are a million online. So I'm not going to get into developing these different plot hooks and which ones are better. Obviously, you decide which ones are best for your campaign. But I'm going to go over a few overarching ideas here. Number one, and you're going to hear this a lot when you look up anything about plot, whether it's writing a book, writing a game adventure for your group. Steal. Steal from media, books that you've read, movies, TV, you find something cool or a cool plot idea, adapt it for your game. Just steal it outright, change it up a little bit, add your own little take on it, make it fit your world. But, they say that there's nothing new under the sun, so it's all been done before. Some of the best things steal from other ideas, take them, adapt them a little bit, change them around. I steal from books all the time. There was a great series called Heroes by Necessity, a great book, Heroes by Necessity, great book. It's where there was an unbalance in the world and the good guys had to become bad guys for a bit in order to balance everything out. And I adapted that as a campaign, which we had a lot of fun with, so it was really great. I had everybody make hero characters, and then threw them into this world where they had to end up as bad guys for the greater good overall. I even used some of the NPCs from that, who became regular NPCs in the campaign. So it's okay to steal. Another great source to steal from is your players. Your players are going to come up with some of the best plots that you ever come up with. So just listen to your players. You give them some kind of, especially if you have some kind of mystery or something like that, you give them something to solve. They're going to conjecture at the table about all kinds of stuff. Now, don't play your hand. Just listen, take it all in. Take what you like, don't use what you don't like. But they're going to, guess about all kinds of stuff. Like, well, maybe it's this kind of connection. They're going to find connections that you weren't even aware of. And you're like, oh, that's great. That fits right in. I ran a campaign once where it was all based on a prophecy, and I kept the prophecy kind of vague, and so, as it came through, they found things in the campaign that fit the prophecy, and they're like, oh, how did you figure this out ahead of time? So, like I said, steal from books, movies, TV, steal from your players, and add a little connective tissue from your other ones, add NPCs from your other games, add bad guys into the campaign to make it feel like all these things are connected. But you do that, and you're going to have a great plot.
After returning to the king, you are greeted as heroes of the realm. He thanks you for solving the mystery of his missing ruby.
Not so fast, fat man.
Yeah, king. That's even your name.
What are you guys talking about?
We know that you're really a co-wizard.
You almost got away with it, gnome. Luckily, we were able to piece it all together.
Guys, I don't,
Yes! Hold him down while we take off his mask!
I used the wand of dispelling on his disguise.
Okay, the disguise fails and the gnome illusionist is standing there.
Awesome!
there you have it, folks. Way to better your plots there. Make sure you have a little connective tissue. Make sure you have all your notes down. You have a way to keep track of all your notes, NPCs, keep them all organized. Like I said, just Google search plot hooks, and there's no end of plot hooks on the internet that you can find. There's several books, 101 different plots. You can buy, there's several of them that are not even for gaming, just for books, for writers. There's a lot of writing tools. A lot of these writing tools will help you write good campaigns, or good adventures. So keep track of that, take good notes, steal when you need to, listen to your players, and sooner or later you're going to be running, adventures that are going to have your players scratching their head on how'd you come up with all this. So that's how I do it. Thanks again for watching. This is the Grizzled Game Master. I know we've been gone for a while, been about a month since our last episode. Trying to get back on track with some more episodes here coming your way. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you want to support us, there's a link to our Patreon down below. Please like and subscribe, tell your friends about us, check out our other shows on the channel, and I'll see you again next time.